Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into something that, well, it's being called the next major evolution of artificial intelligence, AI agents. We're talking about moving AI from just a simple tool to a genuine teammate. Okay, let's just jump right in. For the longest time, we've thought of AI as this passive partner, right? You ask it a question, you get an answer. You feed it a prompt, it spits out some content. But what we're seeing now is a huge shift. Agents are active, not passive. They're not just here to answer questions, they're designed to achieve goals. And the really critical part? They're moving from being directed by a human at every single step to being self-directed, which means they can actually take actions all on their own. And this quote really just hits the nail on the head. Seriously, think about it. A huge language model on its own, it's kind of like a brain in a jar. Super smart, but it can't do anything. An agent is what happens when you give that brain a real purpose, when you connect it to the world and let it get its hands dirty. So, how do these things actually work? What are the moving parts? Let's break down the core anatomy. And we're going to use a really simple but I think super helpful analogy, a human body. Okay, so first up, every single agent has a brain. This is the part you're probably familiar with. It's the large language model, the core reasoning engine. This is the bit that does all the thinking, processing information, figuring out the goal, and coming up with a plan. It's the thinker. But a brain on its own can't really do much in the real world, right? It needs hands. And that's exactly what tools are for an agent. They are the agent's hands. It's connection to everything outside its own mind. We're talking about APIs it can call, websites it can search, databases it can query. This is how the agent takes real action. And this is where the final piece of the puzzle comes in, the thing that connects it all, the nervous system, or what we call orchestration. This is the behind-the-scenes process that links the brain to the hands. It manages the agent's memory, keeps track of what it's doing, and runs the whole operational loop that lets it work towards a goal. Okay, so we've got the brain, the hands, and the nervous system. But how do they actually, get anything done? They don't just sit there. They all work together in this really elegant, continuous cycle, all aimed at achieving one thing, the goal. And that cycle is what we call the think, act, observe loop. It sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. First, the agent thinks. It uses its brain, the model, to analyze the goal and figure out a plan. Next, it acts. It uses one of its tools, its hands, to execute that plan. And finally, it observes the result of that action, learns from it, and then loops right back to the beginning to think about what to do next. Okay, let's make this real. Check out this example. A user asks a super simple question. Where is my order? Now, an old-school chatbot might just fail, but an agent, it thinks. It forms a plan. Find the order, get the tracking, report back. Then it acts, calling an internal tool to find the order ID. It observes the result, the tracking number. Then it acts again, this time calling an external shipping API with that number. It observes the final status, and only then does it complete its plan and report back. See? It's a whole chain of autonomous actions. But here's the thing. That simple loop, it's just the starting line. Just like anything else, agents can get way more complex, way more capable. They evolve. And you can really see that evolution here, broken down into levels. You start at level 0, which is basically just the model, the thinker in a box. Then, at level 1, you give it tools, and it becomes a doer. It can actually look stuff up. Level 2 is the strategist. Now it's not just doing one thing, it's making complex multi-step plans. And then there's level 3. Now that's where things get wild. You get a whole team of agents, with one manager agent delegating tasks to other specialized agents. It's like a real project team, but made of AI. All right, so this all sounds amazing, right? Almost like magic. But, and this is a really big but, moving these agents from a cool prototype to a reliable product that you can actually trust, that is a massive leap. It brings up a whole new set of challenges that normal software development just isn't designed for. The heart of the problem is that agents are, well, they're unpredictable. Unlike normal code, which does the exact same thing every single time you run it, an agent might take a slightly different path to the same goal. So how do you test that? You can't just run a simple pass-fail test. This is why we need entirely new disciplines like agent ops. It's a whole framework for managing these thinking systems. And when your software can take actions in the real world, things like quality and security suddenly become 100 times more important. And this is what those solutions actually look like in practice. For instance, when an agent does something you didn't expect, how do you debug its thought process? You need detailed traces that record its entire reasoning path, step by step. Or how do you grade the quality of its work? Well, you use another AI, an LMS judge, to evaluate it. And maybe, most importantly, to stop agents from going rogue, you build powerful guardrails, a mix of hard-coded rules and AI monitoring that keep them in line. So, when you put all of this together, you've got the brain, the hands, that think, act, observe loop, and all the serious production level ways to manage them. What you end up with is something way more than just software.
This isn't just about workflow automation on steroids.
What we're really talking about is a brand new kind of collaborator, an autonomous, adaptable, and seriously capable new member of your team. And that really brings us to the big question, the one we should all be thinking about. It's not if we'll have AI teammates anymore, it's what are we going to do with them? So forget about just automating one little task. What is the big, complex, important goal you would give to your very first AI teammate? Because the answer to that question is going to define how we work for years to come.